Everybody, Scout Crafter here again. Thank God it's Friday, and I have to tell you something. I don't think it'll be a tool restoration today. It's hot, it's humid. I just don't want to be in the shop sweating, you know, and especially grinding. I thought I'd start off with a little story. Now, as you know, I used to work nights, and about 15 years ago, I was coming home after work one night, and around the corner here, I saw something in the garbage, and I'm a big-time garbage picker. If I see something good in the garbage, I mean, I will stop and pick it up. And this was no exception, but this thing was, you know, huge. I couldn't pick it up. So it was so big, I came home and I got the hand truck, and then I went around the corner and I picked it up with the hand truck. And this was like 3 in the morning or something like that. I picked it up, I brought it home, and my mom happened to be up, and rest her soul, she weighed about 100 pounds, and I said, Ma, could you give me a hand getting up these porch steps here? There's about 5 steps. So she took the top of the hand truck just to guide it, and I lifted it up the steps until I got it into the house. And let me show you what it is. It's a pretty good find. Excuse me, I'm moving. I'm trying to get my stuff together, but this is what I found, and it has a light. And on top we have the Howdy Doody and a clock. I was restoring that Howdy Doody puppet for Sue. I found this on eBay. I just had to have it. It's a little Howdy Doody light from the 50s. Pretty cool, huh? Anyway, and then of course my 100-year-old restored. This is beautiful, huh? This is an 8-day clock. Now this clock is over 100 years old and still works just like the day it was new. It's restored, and I was getting into clock repair for a while, but you want to talk about time consuming too. Oh, it just takes a long time, and you really have to have patience, but it is a lot of fun. And this one here I bought restored actually from a really good German guy that just is unbelievable with clock repair, and he did what a job on this. But it's a 100-year-old clock, and these are expensive. They were like a month's salary back then, or at least. So they were prized possessions in households years ago. Okay, now in 1938, Mr. B.L. Berg comes up with this cool concept on how to display small items. Many different models, and through the years, this one here was the one that was really popular. And in all kinds of stores and showcases, jewelry stores, things like that, you could come up here, you can operate the shelves by pushing these buttons here. If you had to get inventory or something, you can use this shelf here, or you can open the sliding doors in the back. But it's really cool. Let me show you how it works. Okay, so what's really cool about this, first of all, it uses neon lights that run around the side. They're kind of hidden. You don't see them, so you don't get the glare. Then you could come up here and touch these buttons and look whatever you wanted to look at on the in the display. It would turn and rotate, and let's say you saw something that you liked and you want to go back, you can push it back like this, and it was so cool because you would operate it yourself as you go into the store. And the jewelry store up the street from me had one of these, and we used to love to go in there. And obviously these are some of my Matchbox. Let me show you a little bit closer of what's in here. Now this is just some of my overflow stuff from the, you know, when you got junk drawers and things like that. But what's really interesting about this is what would happen is if you left this on automatic, every so many seconds this would spin. You know, you can program it however you want it. It would spin for 20 seconds and stop, or 10 seconds and stop, and this way your stock, people as they're walking by would constantly see what kind of inventory you had. You guys might remember this. These are Pinewood Derby cars. Remember the Pinewood Derby from Boy Scouts? That was a lot of fun. Used to make them even as adults. And obviously, you know, some watch, just some things, overflow things that that might have been some. I used to make knives and things like that. Some of that. Anybody ever use one of these for currency? You remember this? AKA that's thanks to Desert Storm over there. And let's see. Okay, my Matchbox collection. Now, I know my friends from England. This is something that I guess this is part of their heritage, because these were all made in England. And when I was a kid, this was the cat's pajamas, all these Matchbox cars. And I used to have a beautiful collection until my mother sold them on me. Yeah, I guess one time when I must have been about 18 or so, and she was having a yard sale and she figured I didn't want them anymore. But I had to go out and get all these, but mine were kind of beat up anyway. So I went out and got all these Matchbox cars that I had, plus the ones I didn't have, the whole set. And I looked around a long time because I didn't want to get any junk. So I used to, you know, sometimes you'd have to buy 4 or 5 cars to get 2 that were in decent shape. and these are all in nice shape, but that brings back a lot of memories. So this is the probably about 1972 Berg company, and this is their, well, they call it their spin display. They're still made today. You could pick this model up today, and it will only set you back about $3,200. But it's imagine finding this in the garbage. How cool is that? And it all worked. All the drawers were thrown around inside, and I just had to do a little bit cleaning, oiling, and put everything back into working order. Pretty interesting, huh? For those of you that might like watches, I want to show you this one right here. Wait till you see this. This was a gift to my father from my mother when they got married. It's an Omega Seamaster. And what a nice watch, huh? Look at the thin profile, the stretchy band, typical 60s watch, late 50s, 60s watch, right? Beautiful watch, even by today's standard, just classic, right? Boy, they don't make them like this anymore. Here's something pretty cool. It's a 1930 reproduction of a Stour watch, and look at this here. Look at how the face is. You see that? The two rotating dials. One goes to the right, the other one, actually they both go to the right, but pretty interesting, huh? You don't see too many of these around anymore, especially with alligator style band. I just thought it was pretty cool. You don't see something these. I think my buddy Joe would get a kick out of. This is a K-Ball Warthog, but I changed the grips and I made him, this is a Corian. Isn't that a nice, cool looking grip? I mean, this was just something I did for fun, but it's a nice, I always liked this style knife, but these grips were just a little bit longer than the factory ones, and I made these out of Corian. I used to get Corian. There was a factory that used to make countertops out of this stuff, and they would throw away huge amounts of it, and I would pick it up and I'd make knife handles and all kinds of stuff out of Corian. Pretty interesting material. Okay, here's something pretty interesting. When I was, I used to collect knives, and then I started making knives and things, but my scouts wanted to get into it. But, they, who's got the money to get into a forge or any kind of knife-making material? It's expensive. So what I used to do was I used to get these knives for them on eBay. And these were from you might remember these Utica Sportsman knives. But they were good knives. I mean, they were great. They worked well, and they were inexpensive. You can pick them up cheap. They had all different types. But what I would do is I would look for ones. Here's an old Cutmaster. You can see here. You see the Utica Cutmaster. They had carbon steel blades. They were everything you could want. They were great. You could baton with them. I'm telling you, they were strong knives. Years ago, they made them a little thinner, like this one here, and they weren't so good. But the early ones had a thicker blade. They were heavy duty. What I used to do is get ones that were rusted up or cracked handles, and then we would make handles with the scouts. And this is one that I made. This is a pearl handle I made. And you just using these blades that you would get, and you could pick these up cheap, like $5, $6 for these. Here's one I made, and then again, this one didn't have a sheath, so I showed them how to make sheaths out of material that wasn't leather. Like this is actually a wood sheath, which is fantastic because it wouldn't promote rust like the leather does. But this one was really in bad shape, rusty and everything. We'd take it down to the belt sander, reprofile it a little bit, and then make a nice little acrylic handle. That's a nice looking knife. But for a fraction of the cost of what a custom knife would cost. Here's something pretty cool. You ever see one of these? These are called ring knives. And what they were, I used to deliver papers as a kid. And the name of this knife is called the Handy Twine Knife. Okay? It's made by the Handy Twine Knife Company. And they were out of the upper Sandusky, Ohio area. And what you would do is you'd slip this on your finger, and when you were tying up papers and things like that, you would slip it and cut the twine. And my boss was the name of Mr. Wick. This guy was tenacious. He was a World War II veteran. He had, I think, the Medal of Honor. He was a really a kind of a hero in our town. I used to work for him, and he always had one of these on his finger, and he was missing one of his fingers, so he had kind of a missing finger with that thing on it. It was pretty awesome. Something pretty interesting. 1953, a gentleman by the name of Don Murphy was a Cub Scout leader, and he came up with the idea. He says, you know what, I'm going to give every scout a piece of wood this size, and they're going to have to carve out a car, and then we'll have a ramp, and we'll have like a soapbox derby. and it took off from there. I mean, now it's still in play, but it was a Cub Scout event. But I carried it over to the Boy Scouts because I said, you know, unfortunately with the Cub Scouts, a lot of their parents would wind up making the cars. So the Boy Scouts were from 11 to 17, and they still had a good time, you know, and I would give away special prizes, and I would let them make up all kinds, whatever they wanted to do, and it was a lot of fun. But these were cars that I had made, God, about 25 years ago, and I would bring these down and to show the Scouts what you could do, you know, with just a block of wood. It would come with the 4 wheels, and it would come with 4 nails, and I'm sure some of you out there have built them before. This was a little armored personnel carrier I made about 10 years ago, but boy, the kids had a great time, and what a great project it is for Scouts or anybody to try and to carve a car out of a block of wood, and you know, it's something that you have for the rest of your life, and you look back and think fond memories. Next up, do you ever see one of these before? This one here is it's made by NSD. You can see here, and what it is, it's a gyroscopic spinner, and it's for exercise. And what you do is you spin this around, and you can get the revolutions up to thousands and thousands of RPM, but you have to, you know, it takes a little bit of skill. Nothing that everybody can't do. It just takes a little while. But this one has an LED in it, and you can hear the gyro spinning up. And has a tremendous force. I mean, when you hold it back, it really takes control of your wrist. It's very good for your forearm muscles and your hands, and it's also a lot of fun. I don't know if you've ever seen one of these before, but tremendous amount of fun. So in closing, that was over 12 minutes of random stuff. And anyway, I hope you have a great weekend. Thanks so much for tuning in. Take care now. Bye-bye.